side-scrolling beat-em-up genre is the type of experience that could well be the most unexplored genre in gaming. Underneath the surface, I feel, this genre has innovations not yet explored that many have simply moved on from due to the simple one-button mashing the genre generally offers, even in its best examples. But if someone was going to look at this genre to innovate and overcome the criticism of repetitiveness, they would do well to take a long, hard look at Ninja Saviors. Big, impressive sprites explode onto the screen as you stomp through many urban locations, taking control of what Skynet would have made if it became self-aware and decided to watch Ninja Scroll instead of Conan the Barbarian when making its Terminators. Ninja Savior does so much right. Keeping the buttons simple, it gives you a wealth of easy to pull off moves, with a variety of attack potential to keep you experimenting right up until the end. You would be forgiven if you thought not having the ability to walk into the foreground and background like in Streets of Rage or Golden Axe would limit the ways enemies could approach you, and likewise how you would attack your enemies. But Ninja Saviors removes a lot of that off screen, lining up just right with the enemy frustration, with one of the most fair AI systems I have ever come across in this genre. The game really gives you the 80s action movie feel. You know the one, where they rock up into a bar filled with bad guy punks, they swarm the hero and then they do some crazy kung fu that knocks out everyone around them like a boss. I rarely felt the computer controlled enemies use cheap tactics to stay out of range, read my inputs or interrupt my combos, causing me unfair damage. If anything, I felt like I was being unfair to them. Ninja Savior's Return of the Warriors is a game remake of sorts, taking a late in life release SNES game and updating the graphics and sound, adding new characters and a couple of modes and features to give it the love and treatment it deserved back when everyone was more concerned with the shift to 3D graphics. And they really have. The new artwork of the game is outstanding and would make any comic book fan drool, especially the giant robot mech Raiden that you can unlock on your second completion of the story. Each character has the same button layout but plays very differently from one another, each having their own speciality. Not just a different combo animation or simple speed and damage changes, actual ways to play, crawl speeds, air combos, maneuverability options. They each have their own blind spots, special attacks and grapples, strengths and weaknesses in fighting style. All of this takes time to discover and much trial and error that could take you right up until the end of the game to find out everything a single character has to offer you. With Raiden once again being the biggest change. If the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were in this thing, they wouldn't be watching the Red Ranger do all the work like in the TV show. All 5 of them would be pressing buttons to get this behemoth firing all weapons, and even just turning around. So yeah, where you may have relied on the Red Ninja's speed and ability to flip out of danger, you would then have to deal with your jump being taken away with the Blue Ninja, in favour of being replaced with greater attack range and a powerful grapple ability. This is the most fun you will have with the game, exploring how the androids differ from one another, but unfortunately it is over all too quickly. The game only has 8 stages, and by the end of the game you would have discovered everything about that character, providing you didn't just rely on mashing one button. This game would have benefited with level differences for each character, maybe a boss rush or battle mode. Instead you were giving just 2 difficulty settings and a bare bones time trial mode with leaderboards. Which is a real shame. You are left with a feeling of wanting more, and what Ninja Saviors succeeds in making each of its characters very much interesting and different from one another, it drops the ball on level variety. Of course, playing with a friend will always be a blast as you smash up waves of enemies with a mate, but this means it will only ever be a side snack to whatever you really came over to play that day. And this is only made worse by repeating bosses. Just as the game starts to combat its genre's issues, it makes the most basic of side-scrolling beat-em-up sins, with repeating boss fights. Which really blows my mind, as the first few stages have really good bosses, only for the later game to put you against the classic first boss is back, but now there are 2 of them, and then repeat that whenever they want to slow you down. Heck, I would have had the level 2 and 3 bosses a few more times instead of seeing boss 1 again and again. And having different bosses to look forward to would have made the length and replayability of the game a little better. My only other gripe is the grapple and block system. I understand the game design was perhaps created with that arcade couple of buttons style, and by changing this could make the game much easier as a result, but I feel this could overcome the very few frustrating elements to this game's combat. To grapple an enemy and utilise some of the high impact moves, you have to walk into them. For the most part this is fine, but every so often you can do this by mistake and it opens you up to attack. Or you have this will I won't I scenario where the enemy may grapple you first. This is particularly bad when the final boss can only be damaged by throwing enemies into him. With lasers and bullets raining down on you, you are wrestling with this control choice, hoping it will work, where a grapple button would have made this more reliable. Same goes with blocking, where you have to hold the attack button down to enter a block stance, meaning you will throw out a punch or kick first, resulting in last minute blocks being impossible. So if someone takes a long range shot at you with a gun, you can't protect yourself instantly. Instead your character tries to punch the bullet first, not the Ninja Savior's smartest programming protocol. Therefore you find yourself blocking when nothing else is going on, in anticipation of an attack coming in the next screen. It would also make turning around with a block button much easier, where if you block the wrong way at the moment, you once again have to release the block button, turn, attack, and then you will block, which once again is not exactly the most ninja-like of movement. Still, these are minor concerns to what is otherwise an excellent beat 'em up, which should be up there in your collection with games such as Streets of Rage, Final Fight and Turtles in Time, with multiple attack options to combat enemies virtually anywhere on the screen. I feel Ninja Saviors, though short, is a great time, and for anyone who may want a change of scenery in this genre. The graphics are bold and cool as hell, with you feeling like an unstoppable force with no single enemy being enough to topple you. It really will take an army to slow you down, and the enemy certainly has that. Repeating boss fights are disappointing, and many more may comment on the often bland backgrounds and lack of level variety. But for me, when you have characters kicking ass and looking this cool, a lot of the complaints go away when it is this fun to play. So, Ninja Saviors, have you played it? Write your opinions in the comments below and let anyone who sees this review know what you thought. And for people thinking about picking up this game, don't just take my word for it, check out the OLL community comments here on Discord or Facebook before making that all important purchase. And maybe join us on Twitch and be a part of the next Critical Hit. This was Bill on behalf of OLL Games, thanks for checking out our review, and we'll see you next time.